Now, page 4, impeachment by partisan polling. Clearly, what Nancy Pelosi and company are waging is a public relations war against the 45th president of the United States. The Democrats create a bunch of political smoke on Capitol Hill, and the mainstream media scream fire at the top of their collective lungs, and the American people, at least some of them, listen and believe. This is how it's all working. In fact, the media are the modern Democrat Party's PR wing. And so the Democrat machine barrages the American people with a political carpet bombing strategy of this partisan anti-Trump narrative, knowing that the mainstream media will not challenge it, knowing that over time this repetition of lies will have an impact on a certain portion of society. And that brings us to the polls. If we are to believe the polling on impeachment, then more and more Americans not only agree with impeachment, but removal from office. Now, after 2 years of wall-to-wall anti-Trump coverage, why would you expect anything less? Joseph Goebbels could not have scripted this hatchet job any more diabolical. However, remember, these are partisan pollsters. They oversample Democrat voters, and they often craft the questions so that the Democrat mainstream media cabal achieves their desired anti-Trump results. But this is what is happening. Pelosi has been waiting for the polling numbers to shift in their favor. This is not a constitutional impeachment process in any way, shape, or form. Instead, it's impeachment by rigged, predetermined mainstream media polling. And along with Pelosi, watching that polling like an ugly political vulture is the snake senator from New York, Chuck Schumer.
We have a responsibility to consider them with the best interests of our country in mind.
Stop, say, best interest of our country. Let's examine that for a moment, shall we, Senator Schumer? Best interest of the country. How about you resign? We don't have term limits in Congress. I firmly believe we need term limits. The framers of the Constitution did not believe we needed term limits. Why? Well, they thought the next election was going to be term limits. And they figured that the American people were smart enough, savvy enough, engaged enough to vote people like Chuck Schumer out of office. But apparently that's not true in the great state of New York. And for Nancy Pelosi, apparently that's not true in the formerly great state of California and other states and other members of Congress who have overstayed their welcome. Chuck Schumer has been on our dime since the 1980s. Don't you think it's time for him possibly to return to the private sector and do some damage in the private sector instead of in the public sector, affecting my life and your life and the lives of 300 million other Americans? Don't you think it's maybe time? So, Chuck, best interest of this country, resign. Get the heck out of there. Apparently, you don't believe in term limiting yourself. And by the way, this is where Article 5 of the Constitution comes in there. And triggering a convention of the states. There's no way Washington, D.C. is ever going to impose term limits on itself. There's only one source for term limits, and that will be we the people through the states and a state convention if it can be triggered through Article 5. But best interest of the country, let's examine that further. Beyond you resigning, Chuck, is it the best interest of the country to attack a president of the United States every day, 24/7, on various levels with help from the mainstream media? The media go on and on and on this week about the G7 announcement that's going to be held at Doral outside of Miami, which is a Trump property. 1 hour of questioning of Mick Mulvaney over the fact that the G7 is going to be held at Doral, which, by the way, is going to be a secure location already because it's a Trump property and the President of the United States goes there. So it's already set up by the Secret Service to be secure. And it's in Miami. It's a good weather location. It's rather centrally located, if you will, for the G7. But they go on and on and on and on. And then, almost simultaneously, Nancy Pelosi has a news conference. They don't ask her one question about following congressional and constitutional precedents in terms of a, quote, impeachment inquiry. Not one question about how she's violating what other Congresses have done in the past in terms of impeachment, dating all the way back to 1868, 1974, and 1998 with Bill Clinton. They don't care about that, but they care about Doral. Oh, they care about a possible violation of the Emoluments Clause. Best interest of this country. Is that the best interest of this country for the mainstream media to be abdicating its role as caretakers of the United States Congress and observers of the United States Congress and supposedly question askers, if you will, of the United States Congress? Is that in the best interest of this country? Is it in the best interest of this country to put us through an impeachment process based solely on purely partisan design? Impeachment started the day the President of the United States, Donald Trump, was sworn into office. Just ask Al Green. Just ask Maxine Waters. They were screaming impeachment from day one. So they got their wish. This has been by design from day one, from January 20th, 2017 forward. Is that in the best interest of this country? Is it in the best interest of this country to undo tax cuts for the vast majority of the American people? Is that in the best interest of the American people? Is it in the best interest of the American people to undo the election results of 2016 and make Hillary Clinton a happy camper? Is that in the best interest of the American people? Is it in the best interest of the American people to grow government again while Donald Trump has been chipping away, making government smaller? Is that in the best interest of the American people? I don't think so, Chuck. I don't think that's in the best interest of the American people at all. And I think it would be in the best interest for you to hang up your toupee in Congress once and for all. So careful, Chuck. Careful what you ask for. You may be able to manipulate some of the people through manipulated polling. However, the ultimate polling will come on November 9, 2020. And tens of millions of liberty-loving Americans will not forget. I guarantee it.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One American News on YouTube. And call your cable provider and kindly demand that One American News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.